Kindly, Speaker, ask her first. Let her come first, and then I'll come. Let me.
No, it's up to me to decide the senator to speak first, and I've chosen you this time around.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, my question is not in line with what is going on, but I wanted to know from the CS. And first of all, congratulations for your coming back. You've been really good on your work, and we congratulate you for your good work that you are doing. If the rest of the CSs were like you, Kenya would be good. But I wanted to know, Madam CS, Honorable CS, if it is in line with the law for a cooperative society of lands not to hold a AGM meeting for 5 years and no action is taken. I'm struggling with Katelembu land, Madam Speaker and Madam CS, and last time we were together, I also raised that issue with you. I don't know how you can assist me with Katelembu issues. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Beatrice Agola.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Just to emphasize on the earlier concern of Senator Mungatana, is that reports have been given to us in this House about 3 counties that were where the pilot scheme for digitization of the ministry was done and was reported to have been complete. So I was wondering how then we go about looking for files. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, I wanted to know from the CS what steps the ministry is taking to secure open grounds in this city, as was in the initial development plan and on other cities too. How secure are our open grounds from encroachment?
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Yeah, the first question I think is from Honorable Mungatana regarding digitization, how far we are. It is true the digitization process started in Nairobi registry. And, how then does that not help the question of missing files? Before you digitize, you need the files to be able to get that information and load it into the information management system. If you don't have the file, the hard copy file, then you have no information to put. So there are still a few parcels where their files, the files are not available. The deed file, the correspondence file, if those in that hard copy material is not there, then you don't have that in the system. So that is maybe the response to why am I still speaking to a missing file. Ordinarily, we for now, even when we have information in the system, because we still have the hard copies, we re-verify just to avoid any mistake. But in this particular case, we don't have any information in the information management system. That is our ADISASA, and we also can't get the hard copy. So, but we will find them. Normally, sometimes they disappear completely. And that's why I requested support from the owner of that question, Honorable Senator Sifuna, so that if we cannot get, then the people interested or the owners of the property, we request for information from them and documentation, then we'll put it in the system, and then we can be able to gazette the reconstruction and loss of the titles. And therefore, on question of then general digitization, it's work in progress. I'm in Nairobi. Nairobi is at 98%. We are also working in Murang'a. We've gone live in Murang'a. Isiolo we will be launching Isiolo anytime soon. It's just time availability. And then Mombasa, we are at the tail end, maybe at 80%. We obviously are a long way to go, because you know the number of registries are more than 80. Operation ones are about 70, I think 73. my land registrar is not here today. He had another commitment, but what we are saying is that I did tell this House through the vetting that I need about 34 billion shillings to digitize the entire country. The information system is simply now at about 5 counties in terms of digitization. Because the hardest stations are Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, and the others are, maybe in Kiambu, Murang'a. Those are where we have a lot of them, land titling has already happened. So we still need a lot of time and money. I had said if I got the budget, within 4 years, we can finish. So that's where we are.
We now move to question.
I think there was a question on Katerombu from my good friend, Honorable Senator
Yes, if
Kavidu.
Honorable CS, if in a position to respond, you may proceed, because it's not a supplementary.
Yes. I would just advise the Honorable Senator, through you, Speaker, that this is a matter that we could write to the Minister of Cooperatives and SMEs, because they have regulatory instruments that can direct AGM to be carried out. So people should not be held at ransom. And I know many land buying companies, like other public companies, take forever and they do funny businesses there. Even when they call AGM, they buy out some members and the AGM doesn't go well. But under the supervision of the government, national government, through the Ministry of Cooperative, that can be done, and done in a proper way. So we can have a conversation, but you could actually go direct to the Minister for Cooperative, and they'll be able to help that cooperative society. Thank you. If you need my support, I'm available.
Thank you, Honorable CS. We will now move to question number 071 by the Senator for Kirinyaga County, Senator James Murango. You may proceed to ask your question, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, my question was, could the Cabinet Secretary state the number of persons classified as landless, commonly referred to as squatters in Kirinyaga Central Constituency, Kirinyaga County? B, what measures has the ministry put in place to ensure that all squatters across the county, and particularly those in colonial settlements villages along Mount Kenya Forest in Kirinyaga County, are resettled? C, could the Cabinet Secretary confirm when these quotas will be settled, including when they shall be issued with title deeds? And that's my question, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
Thank you. The Honorable Senator for Kirinyaga County, Senator James Murango, is requesting for information on how many people are landless, or people commonly known as squatters. I will start with that question. The classification of people as landless and commonly known as squatters is inaccurate, because landless is different from squatters. And in our view, my view, according to Oxford Learner's Dictionary, I took time to seek this so that I can also have a better clarity. The word landless is an adjective that means not owning land. Therefore, in our context, a landless person is one who does not own land. And basically, in this country, I think those are the majority. Therefore, in our context, this person who doesn't own land, the Land Act number 6 of 2012 defines then a squatter as a person who occupies land that legally belongs to another person or entity without that person's consent. And therefore, these two terms cannot be used interchangeably. One is a squatter on a land that is known who is the owner. Is it a private land? You have a squatter on a private land or on a public land, but you are squatting. Landless is obviously somebody who maybe in the future they will own land. We don't have data of those kind of people because really they are the majority, and we can't have, you don't have land. Yeah, but tomorrow you may have land. So I think normally the concern of the government is quitters, who become a problem to private property and also a problem to public property. The ministry has database of persons classified, does not have database of persons then therefore clarified as landless or squatters in the country. Settlement of deserving cases is undertaken as need arises. The settlement programs are, however, subject to availability of public land, because sometimes we settle them on public land, and availability of funds, because sometimes, of course, we buy land for settlement. The ministry has so far, since independence, settled 301,872 families in 463 settlement schemes. You may not have asked this information, Senator Mrango, but indulge me to give the Senate that information through your question. And therefore, we are talking of a total of 1.288,244 hectares of land that the government has given out for settlement, meaning a total of 320.25 acres of land across the country. And this is a big achievement by the government, and this has occurred in 26 counties within the country. In the last 3 years, the ministry has settled 16,376 families in a total of approximately 21,000 hectares of land across 10 counties. Currently, the ministry has no settlement programs in Kirinyaga Central, because I think one question was in relation to Kirinyaga Central constituency of Kirinyaga County. However, colonial settlement villages are a phenomenon inherited at independence. In Kirinyaga County, there are 46 colonial villages with an estimated 5,231 households as shown in Table 1. And that is I've given the list of the names of these villages. Some basic work, initial work has taken place in terms of planning, but we have not completed the planning. What we are saying is that data indicated in Table 1 above was captured by the ministry and forwarded to the county government of Kirinyaga for coordination of activities together with the ministry, because we need friendly collaboration with the county government. Honorable Speaker, the ministry intends, with availability of funds, to collaborate with the county government of Kirinyaga and NLC to carry out planning, surveying work, identification of beneficiaries, although we have the primary data of who identify and place beacons, and that is work in progress, would require capital or funds, and therefore I want to assure the Senator that that is what I have in my records. NLC will also be part of our partners. Thank you.
Honorable Senator, you may ask your 2 supplementary questions.
Asante sana Mstahiki Spika. Asante sana waziri kwa kujibu maswali ambayo nilikuwa nimeulizia, na niko na maswali mawili. La kwanza ningeuliza kwamba unajua vizuri kwamba katika Kirinyaga upande wa Mwea watu wameishi huko bila hati miliki kwa miaka na mikaka. Nyanyangu nilimzika akiwa na miaka 115 na bado hakuwa na hati miliki kwa sababu ya sheria gandamizi ambayo ina mambo ya kunyunyizia mashamba maji. Kwa hivyo swali langu la kwanza ni juhudi zipi ziko kuhakikisha kwamba wakazi wa sehemu za Mwea, ile inaitwa Mwea Irrigation Scheme, na pamoja na shamba la Southern Kariama kwamba wamepata hati miliki na ni lini? Swali langu la mwisho kwamba katika takwimu ambazo umeleta siku ya leo, kuna vijiji 5260 ambazo zilikuwa ni vijiji za ukoloni. Waswahili husema mgala muwe na haki yake umpe. Toka zile vijiji za ukoloni mpaka leo wale watu wana hati miliki, na unasema kwamba ushapeana takwimu kwa serikali la gatuzi la Kirinyaga waweze kuanzisha mpango rasmi wa kupeana hati miliki. Mimi mwenyewe niko na kijiji ambao mimi niliachiwa na babu yangu ambao haina hati miliki. Huenda nikafa kama sina hati miliki kwa miaka hiyo yote. Ningetaka nijue hizi hati miliki zitapeanwa lini? Asante sana Mr. Speaker.
Honorable CS, you may proceed to respond.
Maybe, Honorable Speaker, allow me to just repeat myself. I did not say that we are giving Kirinyaga County to do the survey work alone. Ordinarily, because they have a survey office, all counties are part of our settlement programs as stakeholders. So I said that if I'm able to put funds together, and this is not just these colonial villages. My department is under instructions to start planning. When you enter into a department, I entered into this ministry last year. We proposed funding for this pending work. We didn't get funding. And I have more villages than this, including Nyeri, including Laikipia, and Nyandarua, and other places outside the Mount Kenya region. So what I'm saying is that Parliament should also be responsive in terms of supporting some of these programs. The National Assembly has poorly funded the Ministry of Lands, notwithstanding that we collect stamp duty to a tune of about 15 billion shillings. And I think I would want Senator Murango to be my partner in this regard. And then this is work that I can finish with the necessary funding. This is work I can finish within 2 years. But I said basic planning is there. People know their sections. What is remaining is finalization by way of survey, and not even planning is not an issue because basic planning has been done. It's just to fine tune it, but now survey and recording so that we can do the titling. I've taken it personally myself, not just for Kirinyaga, but the entire country. I'm mindful that we shouldn't be talking about colonial villages in this era. So we need to clear with them. I commit myself to ensure that this is in the next budget. Among other colonial villages, we need to settle people so that they can use their land more productively. Kirinyaga has other challenges in South Gariama. This is a huge scheme. We have finished our work. There has been several cases that have been a barrier, but those cases basically are now agreed upon, and we should be finishing this scheme without more challenges. The small issues remaining now is about public utilities, how much public utilities we have been able to carve out. I think the county is asking for increased public utilities, but that may not be possible considering that people are already occupied and living in the area. But we are in conversation and we will be finishing this scheme very soon. Mwea also is the same, a lot of conflict and fights, and but the cases, Mwea has also had cases. I think if we put our attention, we can be able to finish this, and we are already, this is work I have instructed for completion. So possibly I cannot tell you it's a year or two because, again, I need funding, but let's work with the Parliament to ensure that some of these old schemes are completed. I think the ministry has also failed to, what happens is that, Honorable Speaker, allow me to say this, our people are very litigious when it comes to land. I can tell you I have cases that are old as 40 years. And whenever we finish adjudication also or settlement issues, other people, brokers, thieves who want to steal land bring cases and they somehow find their way in courts and they come up with orders. So they become a major hindrance to completion of the work. Then, of course, officers move to another place, you know. Then other cases come along because after you have not finished, other people start eyeing the same. So it's quite complex. It's not a straightforward job like go and do it. But we need, as a country, to refocus in this particular, including adjudication, so that we provide sufficient funding for the department, State Department for Lands and Physical Planning. I don't know whether I've answered, but I desire to be your partner. Then we see how we can finish this.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Beth Siengo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to ask a supplementary question to the Honorable CS. My question is on if the CS could clarify what happens in a situation where 2 or 3 people or more lay claim on the same parcel of land, or on one parcel of land, and rightfully they present even title deeds for the same parcel of land. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kinyua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For me, I'm concerned about funding because she has repeated about funding for a long time, and she's saying that if she doesn't get funding, she wouldn't do so much concerning the issue of titling, Mr. Speaker. Because I know I had raised the issue of titling of Minor Village, which she is aware. I had mentioned about Likie. For me, now my concern, Mr. Speaker, is that how much money does the ministry need so that at least she would finish her work? And how much has she gotten? And if the amount she has gotten, how many years then are we going to wait, so that we avoid asking the same question, Mr. Speaker, knowing that she has been given amount X and she wanted amount XY, so that we know how long as Kenyans we are going to wait, especially people from the areas she mentioned, especially in Laikipia, Minor Village, Likie, Marmanete Victis. How long are these people going to wait? Mr. Speaker, the most shocking thing is that when the minister or any government officer visit, they promise, and they give us even timelines, Mr. Speaker. So when people are given timelines, and when the minister comes back to Nairobi, there is no money allocated. So people feel like they have been misled, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Miraj.
Asante Bwana Spika. Swali langu kwa waziri ni kuhusiana na Bububu Settlement Scheme plot number 246 ambayo ilipitishwa na tume ya NLC kwamba wapimiwe na wapewe vipande hivyo vya ardhi. Na nimemsikia waziri kwa kauli yake akisema kwamba akona changamoto ya pesa. Ningependa tu atueleze katika gatuzi ya Mombasa pengine anapania kupeana vibali vya umiliki wa ardhi katika maeneo gani, kwa sababu kumekuwa na matatizo ya kwamba hata baada ya malalamishi kusikizwa na tume husika, baadaye kunatokea watu wengine wanapeleka kesi kotini, na wale ambao washapangiwa kupewa vile vipande vya ardhi wanashtakiwa na kunyanyaswa katika koti zetu. Naomba atupatie mwelekeo ni jinsi gani tutaweza kupambana na masuala kama haya pindi yanapoibuka. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Kavinda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable CS, I'm still following up with the issue of Katelembo. There are people there who are born there by their parents who are shareholders of the piece of land. And being born there, today they are being called squatters and being chased out. And Honorable Speaker, we are talking of people who are aged 70s, 80 years, 90 years old, living in that piece of land, and today they are being called squatters, and the society wants them out. It's only that, by the grace of God, I've been defending them, and the late Honorable Kabaka was still defending, and that is why, Honorable CS, I would request you to intervene for those piece of land, Katelembo. Otherwise, it's a big issue, and people there are owning title deeds. 2, 3, 4, 5 people owning one piece of land, and each one of them has title deeds. Where do they get these title deeds from? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Abbas.
Honorable Speaker, thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to ask the CS whether she's aware that in the far-fetched areas of Wajir and Mandera, there are no land offices. And people require to have title deeds for their, at least especially the commercial areas and municipalities. And they came all the way from Mandera or Wajir to go and come and look for title deeds. What is the plan for the ministry to open land offices in the nearby areas? Maybe in Garissa or Wajir somewhere. Is there any plan?
Honorable CS, you may now proceed to respond.
I think allow me, Speaker, to start with the question of Senator Bas, on Garissa, Mandera, Wajir. Where are we? Do we have plans for a registry? I think this is a conversation we can have. The problem is having too many registries and fewer personnel, but also that to do a registry, you require about maybe between 80 and 120,000 for one registry. But we can look and see in between which is the more appropriate in terms of distances and logistics to then agree where we should have a registry. Ordinarily, it's not a very difficult thing, funds being available. We are also partnering with members of parliament to build registries, because short of funding, there is nothing that stops us to establish a registry where distances become a barrier to access to the land rights of people. So I want to assure you that I will take it up and we can have a discussion in my office, maybe with the members of parliament from those regions, so that we agree which are the appropriate places that we can start thinking of a registry. Senator Kenyua is asking me on the question of how much I need, so that next year I don't come here again and say I don't have money, and I know what I should do, save that I'm saying we have no funding. The estimates for colonial villages in Nyeri, Kirinyaga, and Nyandarua, we had done an estimate of 137 million shillings, and that request has been put to Treasury. But I think to clear with all the colonial villages, we need double that, so that, because they are not just in those places, so that we are talking of about maybe 300 million shillings to clear with that. Then I have a question from Senator Miraj. Am I correct? Yes, about Mombasa, the coast, maybe basically the coast, how many titles. Allow me to give you this information of where titles are ready and how many there are. I don't have that because it's a supplementary question, and it's good to have a proper response in terms of data. So I will request that I can forward that information either through the Senate or to you as a member of parliament, a member of the Senate. I have been asked a question on, again, Senator Kavindu is back to the question of Katerembo. To be honest, I don't have any information about this specific society or the land issues or question that you want me to address. What I can gather from you is that they are squatters, but there are also some owners. The cooperative, the land, this is a private land, but they are squatters. And I had said earlier that the question of squatters, Honorable Kavindu, the question of squatters is a very serious problem in this country. And the last time I appeared either here or before National Assembly Committee, I said that we are developing as a country a class of people who I would define as professional squatters. They move from one land to another, and believe me, they have owners. These people are just moving from one land to another once the land appears like it is vacant. Therefore, maybe we can have a meeting with you, Honorable Speaker. I would invite the Honorable Senator to my office so that I can be seized of the challenges she's raising. I think I don't want to add more, but if they are squatters, they would have to negotiate with the owners of the land so that possibly if they give them, that is, sometimes they are squatters who have worked in that land, but also we don't want to allow people to, to just come to your land. Tomorrow it's you. The other day it will be somebody else's land. I think people must also learn to respect the land rights of others. However, they could have a reason why they are calling themselves squatters in that land. Let's have a discussion. I don't know whether I have answered all the questions. What happens where two people, what happens where two people, I think that's your question, claim they have some title that appear legit, and then who is the owner? There can only be one legitimate title deed. There can only be one. So one of those titles is a forgery. So it means then you would have to interrogate the document itself, and also interrogate the record. The record will guide you to the ownership by name. And there are also features that we are able to, when we interrogate the titles, there are features that we know that we look for in a title deed paper, which will lead us closer to who has a forged title. Because some are just printed in the, I don't want to say River Road, because there are also other good things that happen in River Road. Let's say in the streets in Nairobi, Honorable Speaker. So I guess that is, and if you have any like that, you can refer to us so that we can consult the registry where they purport to have been issued from. Then we will be able to help.
Senator Majaya Stewart.
Asante, Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, nataka kumuuliza waziri. Kwanza, waziri, nataka kupatia heko kwa kuweza kuweka kidole hapo jana ili kuweza kuendelea na kazi yako ya waziri katika mambo ya ardhi. Waziri, kama unavyojua Kilifi County, ambapo mimi ni senator wa hilo eneo, ni eneo la pwani na linajulikana sana kwa maskwota katika Kenya mzima. Nafikiria hakuna county ambayo iko na maskwota wengi zaidi ya Kilifi County. Ni hususan nikizingatia kwamba tunaweza kulinganishana hivi sasa, kumekuwa na wingi wa watu ambao wanataka kujenga majumba, watu ambao wamekuja kuweka rasilimali zao na kuweza kuangalia vile wanaweza kujiendeleza kimaisha na biashara. Hiyo imekuwa jambo zuri, lakini tukiangalia zaidi tunaona ya kwamba kumekuwa na hali nguvu ya maskwota. Maskwota wanaendelea kugandamizwa, wanawekwa katika maeneo ya kando ambao sio maeneo yao wanaoishi. Wamekuwa wakiishi huko mara nyingi, na sio Kilifi. Nikisema hivyo, nasema habari ya kama mahali kama Ganze, eneo bunge, mahali kama Magarini, eneo bunge, mahali kama Malindi, eneo bunge, na hata ukija mahali kama Kilifi South kule inaitwa kaskazini ya Kilifi, ni kwamba kusini ya Kilifi, yani Kilifi South, ni kwamba kumekuwa na mwamko mwingi mkubwa sana. Ukiangalia katika eneo kama la Vipingo, Kikambala, Mtwapa, kumekuwa na maskota wengi sana. Sasa wanasongezwa, wamekuwa wanapelekwa katika ile hali ya kwamba wanaishi kama ambao si binadamu tena. Watu wanajenga majumba, watu wananunua, na wakija pale wanakuja na title wakisema kwamba wako na title. Watu wanafurushwa wakitumia polisi. Polisi wanatumiwa vibaya, ya kwamba watu wanapewa, wanaambiwa hii nendeni mkaondoe watu katika kikao wanachoishi. Ni hatua gani wizara yako ambayo inahusika na utetezi kama huu unaweza kutetea hawa maskwota, ama ni wizara yako, ni hatua gani inachukua kuona ya kwamba maskwota wanaoishi kama ni Kaloleni, ni Rabai, ukiangalia kama Rabai sasa, Rabai eneo bunge lote hivi sasa ni kama ambalo limevamiwa na wale wawekezaji wanaotaka kuja pale kuweka mali zao na kila kitu. Sasa wamechukua ardhi na kuweza kusongeza wenyewe ile ardhi, waliozaliwa pale, na makaburi yako pale, makanisa yako pale, misikiti iko pale, skuli ziko pale. Sasa wanaleta orders, wanakuwa na ile bulldozers, wanaweza kuangusha na kuweza kufurusha hawa. Wizara yako ni muhimu sana. Nauliza wewe, ni hatua gani wizara yako imechukua kuona ya kwamba hatukatai maendeleo yaendelee, lakini pia vile vile wakaaji wa pale, waliozaliwa pale, wanaoishi pale na wana makaburi yao hapo, kuona ya kwamba eneo la makaburi lote linaingizwa tingatinga, kwa sababu mtu anasema hapa niko na title.
Senator, unachukua muda mrefu sana kuuliza swali. Senator, Cabinet Secretary, please respond. Senator Umgeni, you have another supplementary question related to this question. Please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Waziri, I wanted to ask a question related to the issue of compensation of land that has been acquired by government for various projects. And there are several residents of the county of Nyamira whose land was compulsorily acquired to construct Chebilat, Ikonge, Chabera Road. And they have been waiting for compensation for quite some long time. Could the ministry tell us what is causing the delay in compensating those residents of the great county of Nyamira? Related to the issues of land, Madam Waziri, is the rollout of this program of digitization and conversion of titles to e-titles. Madam Waziri, this rollout is causing a number of problems to many Kenyans, especially those who are illiterate, those who don't have phones that are able to take emails and the likes, especially the poor Kenyans at our rural areas. Is the government, through you, going to do maybe a system that addresses the vulnerable Kenyans? A number of them have actually been conned, because for you to do that conversion, you have to go to a cyber, get somebody to assist you, log the details into a phone, and you are not able to read. Really, I know we are trying to benchmark on what's happening from other developed countries, but what are we putting in place to protect the vulnerable Kenyans? Some of them even come from where my Honorable Chair, Speaker, comes from, who are not able to read. They don't have these phones that can log into the email and the likes. And finally, the corruption within the ministry, especially Land Control Board. most Kenyans doing transactions for sale of land are forced to pay up to 20,000 shillings, some 30,000, before the Land Control Board can issue them with consent to either charge or to transfer, without issuance of any official receipts. Madam Waziri, do you think this Land Control Board is serving us well? And what measures can you put in place to curb the corruption within the Land Control Board committees? Thank you.
Cabinet Secretary.
Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to start with the last question of Senator Omugeni. I had responded to the digitization question, but I think your new question is how then are we preparing Kenyans, especially the vulnerable Kenyans, how to deal with how to interact with the information management system, because even maybe the equipments, the phones, the gadgets required, they don't have. Every change has its own challenges. And we have already agreed, and it's a government program that we are digitizing, and we are looking at the larger evil that we are trying to curb: theft of land, security for land tenure, and securing land rights, dealing with the loss of titles and theft of land. I think if you take that against Kenyans who are not literate, then you will find that it's, you know, the bigger problem will be addressed by digitizing. And then we can have a conversation how then we will help. Is it through the ministry that we shall have maybe a section or a department to help the vulnerable that need? And even today, if anybody goes to any registry, they will get help, irrespective of whether you are supposed to interact with them. They will still get help. And I think maybe that's what we should intensify. And administratively, my ministry will look into that. And you have raised an important issue. It is important because the reason we are digitizing is to make easy access, to enable easy access and effective access to land, land records. Corruption in land boards or by land boards or members of the land boards, maybe you would have helped me better if you possibly gave me the specific land board. The minister has authority to degazette a board if we feel corruption is a barrier, is a challenge. So give me specific land board and I will degazette it tomorrow. But I will send a message, and I have kept sending messages. We have, if people also give money, I don't know why people have extra money to give for corrupt purposes. I think that you do not need to give any money.
Cabinet Secretary, would you like to be informed by Senator Mogeni?
Okay. How can I diffuse?
Madam Waziri, this is extremely common in Ngong.
Ngong.
In fact, if you want to know the truth, you can send your undercover agents tomorrow, and you will see no receipts, no official receipt is issued. Okay, those who are able to pay are issued with their consent faster than those who are not willing to give the bribes. It's happening. And I'm sure I'll not be wrong to say that this is duplicated in many land control boards across the country, but the most notorious is Ngong. You can speak to the Law Society and they will tell you.
Administratively, I will withdraw the right to hold special board for that particular land control area, special, so that we have annual, the normal regular land board meetings or approval meetings. And then I'll pick it up, because now you have given me the necessary information. Thank you very much for that information. I will see, but I will also send a circular to all the land boards. But we have a program coming up where we want to create awareness and retrain our land board members. You know, normally they get a small allowance, but they must know when they accept that it is not for payment, they cannot be soliciting for money. And they let them hear me on the floor of this plenary, that anybody caught soliciting money as a member of the land board, the entire board will have to go. Thank you very much. I think the last one, let me come to Kilifi South. Mheshimiwa Senator Madzao of Kilifi County, I identify with the challenges you are raising because I have just said, maybe before you stepped in, that we have professional squatters, but I know we have genuine squatters, but we also have people who, after land has been sold, then they get onto that land, become squatters even when they were not squatters. And those squatters, I had said, they are owned by people, moved from one place to another. The squatters cannot have a right without any reason. We would have to interrogate generally, as a ministry, in your county, Musambaha, Takaungu, we have 2 schemes, Makaburi. You raised about, we have Musabaha and Takaungu. Those are schemes that are purely meant to give land to squatters. So to address the squatter problem, the program that comes very hardy is the land settlement program, where we buy land for squatters. That program requires funding as well. So I think if you ask me as a ministry, what are you doing? Is that whenever we have money, we buy land, but we also need to be specific and strict about squatter problem in the entire coast region. Because you know, you said that there are squatters who are being evicted. There are court orders. It's for somebody to get a court order, they have secured some, they have been able to persuade the court that the owners of the land. So these are very complex issues. And I think some of the people who sell that same land are those people who you are calling squatters. So I would want us to be very specific. We deal with one after the other so that whenever we have funding, we can address specific squatter problem. And being very selective and very careful, because we cannot, we cannot afford to buy land for everybody. Genuine squatters, and even settlement schemes in Mombasa, we are having a challenge, the entire Mombasa. The minute you settle people, you give documentation, the following day they are looking for buyers of the land, then they move to another area to squat there for the same purpose. So I think also as leaders, let us give awareness so that, and we had even a provision, it's still there in the law, that you cannot